Hello and welcome everybody to today's presentation. This is Darren Cunningham. I'm responsible for marketing for Informatica's cloud strategy and product line. And I'm really excited to have Mr. David Lyle here. Many of you who have been with Informatica for some time or following some of what we're doing on the product side know Dave from many great appearances at Informatica World, as well as a couple of the books you see here on the screen. So Dave's going to take us through some tying what I'm talking about on the product change and shift and talking about cloud application adoption and really tie that into what that can mean for you on the integration side, how you can turn this into more of a repeatable approach thanks to some of these methodologies that Dave really championed and has developed with John Schmidt from Informatica. So we wanted to start with a quick poll, and you can see the poll on the side there. We wanted just to get a sense of who's on the call and where you are with cloud application adoption. So the question is, how many SaaS applications are you running in your business? Is it a 0? Is it 1 to 3? Maybe you're just getting dipping your toes in the water. Maybe you're moving more aggressively. Certainly we know Salesforce.com customers tend to move into marketing automation and all the surrounding applications on the App Exchange. Or maybe you're cloud first already in your IT organization. I can tell you, Informatica, we have about 2,500 employees, maybe a little bit north of that now, and we're running almost 100 SaaS applications from our IT organization. So we're all in on the cloud, but we're also very much hybrid because we have a number of on-premise systems that will not be going to the cloud anytime soon. So we wanted just to get a sense from you all on today's call, and there's the polling question just to see where you are, and we'll come back to your response in a minute. So what we're definitely seeing at Informatica as we go out and talk to customers and work with partners on cloud strategies, especially as it relates to software as a service applications and platform as a service, that the risk is that these can very quickly become fragmented data silos. And our belief is that more clouds should actually not mean less visibility. Ideally, it means more visibility and greater agility for both the IT side of the house and for the business. So that's something that you really need to think through, is how to ensure that this is just not another silo problem. Many of you all have probably lived through this on the data mart side and the area of analytics and business intelligence. How do you make sure that these don't become sort of a shadow IT situation, and IT is very much aligned and driving the strategy, working closely with the business. So be aware that cloud adoption might be great for some groups, and they might be seeing the agility and the impact quickly. But the risk is that not only do you get multiple disconnected applications from different vendors, we're seeing organizations with multiple applications from the same vendor that don't speak to one another. So very real, especially given the speed of adoption and how easy it is often to get up and running with these new systems. So speaking of speed and agility, this is now the expectation that we're seeing from the business. And I like this quote. This came from a gentleman who presented with me at Salesforce's annual Dreamforce conference. And he said, with Salesforce, you can add a field in a minute. On the other hand, if you can't get anything to put into that field for 6 months while you're waiting to go through your IT process, how does this really help you? If you can't respond to the data with the same amount of agility, it's essentially useless. So it really does cause this need to rethink your approaches, especially to all aspects of data integration, data management, and that's what Dave's going to be talking about as he introduces some of his concepts around lean integration and how we can move to more of an ICC-based approach. So the topic that we talk to our customers about increasingly is welcome to the era of hybrid IT. Right? If you and I were going to start a company tomorrow, we would probably go all in on cloud. We wouldn't have a lot of servers. We would just get some applications from the different vendors and move forward. But we know that in many of our organizations, mainframe is still very much a reality. So that ability to move to this new approach is it might be happening, but it's certainly not going to happen overnight. So a couple of areas of research, and we could certainly connect you with the right folks at Gartner and Forrester. But this is a hot topic of hybrid computing and how do you make the most of the new model while also making sure that you're not leaving any applications behind, that you're keeping these new systems well connected with your existing legacy infrastructure. So something to be aware of is, and you're going to hear more and more over the next few years, is this concept of hybrid IT. And we really think that at Informatica and where you all are from the data integration side, data management, you're very well positioned to help your organizations really take advantage of some of these shifts that are happening, whether it's cloud, whether it's big data, social, mobile, analytics, some of these potential disruptions. You're really well positioned to be at the center of it all in this new hybrid era. So I'm not sure if I got a polling response there. I don't see the results, but I see the poll has ended. So maybe we'll, oh, there they are. So looks like a lot of you didn't answer. So we're going to give you a chance to do another polling question a little bit later. But 1 to 3 seems to be the majority of where you are with cloud applications in your enterprise. So most of the folks on the call, it sounds like you're just getting going. There are a few organizations that have over 11 cloud applications. Many of you might not even know. We do find sometimes, certainly from the data management side, from the data warehousing group, you may not be aware of the proliferation of SaaS applications. Certainly, they're coming in through the departments and through the divisions that you may or may not be working with. So a couple of common patterns that I wanted to highlight before I bring in Dave to talk through what this means from a lean integration perspective and some of the approaches around a competency center for hybrid IT. But there are definitely common patterns emerging around these cloud applications and how you connect them both to other cloud applications and more often than not, how you connect them back to your on-premise systems. So where we've seen a lot of the energy in the cloud, of course, if you've been reading any of the publications I have, Salesforce.com is definitely the gorilla on the CRM side, right? Huge adoption, whether it's SFA, Salesforce Automation, Marketing Cloud, most recently with the acquisition of ExactTarget, Service Cloud, as well as on the platform side with Force.com. But there are other CRM systems moving to the cloud as well. And some of the common patterns there would be, as sales reps are moving through a sales process, moving opportunities forward, once an opportunity closes, you automatically want to kick off something from your financial management system. You automatically want to process an order, or vice versa. When an order closes on the ERP side, you automatically want to have that reflected on the CRM side. So front office, back office integration, pretty common use case. But we're seeing others, right, around Campaign Master, lead to opportunity with sales and marketing, integrating the HR. Many organizations are aggressively moving to Workday, but also Ultimate software in the cloud as well as on-premise systems. So very common, repeatable patterns and use cases that are emerging around on the integration front. And we'll come back to what we think is possible with these patterns. I do want to just very briefly introduce you to Informatica's approach to cloud integration. What we saw early on was a need for a simplified user experience, especially given that a lot of the early adoption of the cloud applications was coming from a less technically savvy audience, so departments, divisions, and so forth. So we built a very simple to use wizard-based interface. Allows you to point, click, connect as you walk through setting up a mapping and scheduling a job to run. We then took that brand new web-based interface, we put it in the cloud, and we have a multi-tenant metadata repository. So many of you on the call are familiar with PowerCenter's 3-tier architecture where you have a client, a repository, and the engine. We wanted to keep the engine. The engine is really the power. It's really what we're now referring to as Vibe. It's really this ability to map once and deploy anywhere with your mappings. So the common engine is deployed with Informatica Cloud, but it is a multi-tenant metadata repository and a cloud-based interface. And you can actually go and get started right now at informaticacloud.com. So that has been our approach, which is to have a self-service type of interface for the business or for applications IT groups, but then also to have this common engine that allows you to leverage what you're already doing. Which really brings us to where Dave comes in on how do you share this work? What's the model that you're going to set up to allow one group to create perhaps and deploy easily across the business? And at a high level in the architecture, as I mentioned, you log into Informatica Cloud on the web, you install our secure agent, which is really powered by Vibe, and the integrations happen to and from the application. So we don't host your data in the cloud. Data moves bidirectionally between cloud-based applications and on-premise systems. And oh, by the way, because of this architecture, you can take advantage of Informatica Cloud for on-premise only types of use cases that may be too simple, or maybe not ones that you would think of to want to use some of your heavier weight Informatica technology. So you can use Informatica Cloud to do database to file, database to database, but typically we're doing a lot of cloud-based systems to on-premise. So one thing I will say about Vibe, if you haven't heard us talk about this before, we did announce it at our annual user conference 2 weeks ago. And Vibe is really it's the virtual data machine, which consists of the transformation library, the optimizer, the executor, and the connectors. And as Dave will talk about, is the key value proposition is this ability to map once and deploy anywhere. So just last point for me before I bring in Dave to talk through really what this all means from an approach you can take perspective, is that with Informatica Cloud, you can build mappings and maplets with PowerCenter, and then you can run them and deploy them out to the business or to different groups, centrally manage and govern, but deliver that controlled self-service out to the business. So Dave, let me bring you in to talk through what this all means and where you're seeing this going.
Sure. Thanks, Darren. Well, Integration Competency Centers are just organizations that can be very tiny, from just a handful of people up to much larger groups, that simply look at integration as a competency, as something that should not be done as part of each individual project that happens in an organization, but instead happens as part of an ongoing managed discipline that you don't want people and their skills and knowledge to scatter to the wind the moment the project is over. So when Darren's talking about hybrid IT here, we should be seeing this as an opportunity rather than something we should be afraid of, because in effect what this hybrid IT with these cloud integration services allow us is an ability to create these integration factories, which we'll describe in a second here, that allow us to make our Integration Competency Center even more competent than it was before. We're able to reuse our skills and integration artifacts much more easily going forward this way. So let me move forward here. So it's kind of like, if we look at the picture on the left here, chutes and ladders. So we played this game with our kids, perhaps, and you kind of roll a dice and you go forward 3 spaces. Oops, I hit a ladder, now I slide back many more spaces. That's kind of the way IT has seemed to have gone over the previous several decades. What we're talking about now is creating a user interface for doing lots of styles of integration, but not all the most complex integrations, with a user interface where no training is tolerated. We expect that users will walk away from this if anything is too complex. So what we've given is an Amazon.com simplicity to doing lots of different styles of integration. So as we look at the old way of doing things, which was doing a lot of coding, we kind of took a craftsman-style approach to doing things, which is certainly required skilled IT specialists to do lots of hand coding, but we're trying to move towards something a lot more automated and repeatable. So the ICC's made good progress on this by focusing on standardized tools and dedicating skilled labor, and we were able to get better quality and reduce our costs. But what Darren and I are talking about today is the opportunity to really dive into a modern factory approach, because what we're doing and the templates that we'll describe is taking the different styles of data. Darren mentioned the employee master, the customer master, the product master. Well, all those are a certain style of data, like master data. You've also got other styles of data, like transactions, leads to opportunities, or opportunities to sales, or whatever the business process might be. Or it might be a cross-reference table. Each of these are different styles of data. Well, they can fall into these templates, which are somewhat like a parameterized mapping that allow you to create this kind of assembly line that we're looking at here, where we have a flow of materials, which is the mapping, in effect, as it goes from requirements to design to implementation to testing to deployment, and a flow of information, which is like buying a Dell laptop or desktop computer, which gives the configurer a front end that they enter in the parameters for the mapping, and that kicks off the assembly line. By doing this, you get tremendous agility and repeatability and reuse. You're actually taking the knowledge of integration that's inside the heads of the people in the Integration Competency Center, and you're using it to take a next generation approach, which really is enabled and fostered by the whole hybrid IT concept. So this is kind of like if we look at Domino's Pizza, right? You can go to their website, you can order a pizza, and it's going to track you through this way of visualizing their pizza delivery process. After you place the order, it will show you in red that, okay, now we're in phase 2, the preparation part. That means somebody's laying out the dough, putting the toppings on it, and then it'll turn red when it's beginning to bake in the oven, and finally somebody will quality check it, and then you'll be able to see in red there that it's out for delivery. That's having visual inspection of where things are in the process, and you can really only do this when you've got the kind of metadata behind what's going on, when you've actually outlined the integration process by identifying these common patterns or templates and laying out these assembly lines. So this is an extremely powerful way of really doing a lot more effective integration with the folks that you have in your Integration Competency Center. So let's go to the poll here. And what we're asking is, how many of you out there have done something like this or started this yourselves? So how close to the concept of repeatable integrations or templates, and Darren will show a little bit more of this coming up, is your organization today? The answer like, well, 1, not even close. 2, we're moving in that direction. 3, I didn't really understand what I described. Please do let me know that as well. Or in many cases, we may not have a Center of Excellence or Integration Competency Center, and we'd like to learn more. This is a core principle going forward. So go ahead and answer questions in the poll here. And
hey, Dave, let me ask you, as you work with clients, of all sizes, where do you feel people are generally on this sort of move to an ICC front? Is there a lot of energy towards that? Is there a lot of still question marks?
What's really interesting is, particularly with this cloud-based approach, with the ability to create templates in the cloud, people are moving to this much more quickly than they have in the previous several years. In the past, Informatica has had the mapping architect for Visio, and a lot of companies were starting on the path of creating templates using that approach. What they're finding is, with the new capabilities in our cloud offering, that it's much simpler to create these templates and reuse these templates, and it's really picking up speed. So nobody's really debating whether this is the right thing to do. Everybody's kind of nodding their head vigorously. The thing that's actually becoming the most difficult part is finding the people who think architecturally, who think in terms of seeing the common patterns and putting those patterns together. That's a skill that you'd really like to cultivate. Identify those people and get them working toward this. That seems to be almost the critical path, or the thing that's in the way. It's not the technology anymore.
Interesting, and we're going to leave folks with some next steps. But let's go through the cloud integration template approach, and then we'll come back to some of those recommendations. And it's interesting to see the polling results. A lot of people not answering. So polls are, if we ask the question, do you like polls, I suspect you might answer. So Not even close, there's a few, but we're moving in that direction, so that's encouraging, is the majority.
Okay, I've just tried to drag the ball to you, Darren, if I could get some help, Sean, because it's not dragging for me. So.
All right, I got it. So,
okay, good job.
I'm good. So let's go through what we mean by cloud integration templates that Dave's talked about. So for those of you who want to actually do this right away, you can kind of follow these steps. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to informaticacloud.com and get started with the trial. And once you're up and running with your org, you've got your agent all set up and configured, there's a drop-down under configuration where you can go and see some pre-built templates that we've made available to you as part of the process. Now, here's what that would look like. It could be activity logs or aggregation templates, capture new or updated records. So there's a number of templates that we want to make available for you to kind of get started. We also, and this is really where this is going, we want to make it easy for you all to build and share this kind of work through the marketplace, or more importantly, to go and get a jump start so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. If you know that opportunity to order is a pretty common use case for CRM to back office, and you have SAP, wouldn't it be great if you could just go and search SAP Salesforce opportunity to order and go and get that template from the marketplace? So this is not only where we're going, it's actually where we are. So you can go to the marketplace today and you'll see there's a cloud mall that has connectors, it has templates, and it has a number of other utilities that will really help you jumpstart the project. Now, the next step is, okay, great. I've got this template concept, but my business is different. I have some things that I need to customize and configure. So that is really key here. Is these are parameterized so that you can very easily configure them to your specific needs. You can also change the connectivity. So this is again the power of our Vibe engine, where we're separating the engine, the execution, from the logic. And so you can define your own logic, configure it, and these are all reusable. So you can see the screenshot. This was built with the Visio tool, and where we're going with the cloud is to provide more and more capabilities to allow you to build these natively on the web. So just the last thing I wanted to mention, if you want to start building templates, you can go to informaticacloud.com/developer, and you can go and get the Visio tool to actually start designing your own templates. Anyone who has Power Center skills or experiences will pick this up very quickly, and you may already be using it. And then you can deploy some of your own customized wizards to your users, so that you not only build this this reusable piece of logic, you're then deploying it in a way that your end users can easily consume and understand. So you can really narrow down what they can do, what they can't do, what kinds of things they can update and edit, and then they can schedule it and run it. So this is really the power of as Dave described, instead of doing this sort of always point-to-point, build it from scratch, heavy hand coding type of approach, we're helping you move to more of an automated style of integration. So Dave, we wanted to make this presentation a pretty tight, high-level overview.
Yeah.
What are some things people can do to consider this implementation?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to kind of look at what product or service could I offer that if I could follow this kind of assembly line approach, I would deliver that product or service, say, an order of magnitude faster. It doesn't have to be something really complex, just something you end up doing over and over again. This might be, for instance, publishing data out to your business users. But measure how long it typically takes to, how would your customers consider you to be successful, and figure out what that measure is. Put a leader in charge, somebody who's going to be accountable, or put in a positive way, somebody who's going to be deemed a big success and hero, basically, by galvanizing the people and technology and process and so forth together to make this happen. Define somebody who's going to be in a stewardship role as well, kind of your counterpart perhaps on the business side, and put together what is this life cycle or methodology going to be that we're going to do. Now, we don't want to overthink this, don't want to make this too complex, because the whole point of this is being agile about this and trying to cut out the waste that has typically been in these life cycles. But the point here is that when you get to 6 and developing that capability for reuse, that you're looking at a particular pattern, something that you can parameterize and train a small number of people to how to fill out the parameters, how to fill out that Dell computer ordering form. And then once they do that, you basically are ingraining the best practices in what your integration architect wants mappings of that style to look like. And once you've also got that, if you're using this with a foundational metadata management background, you also then have the visibility to see where different projects or different initiatives are in their life cycle. For instance, has something been ordered? Is somebody working on baking this particular integration mapping? You can see what's going on and what perhaps isn't going on, so that you can work on continuous improvement on how to improve your objective measures of success. And the number 8 here is, okay, once you've done that one thing, as I mentioned, just start with one thing. Then after that gets going, then start picking a second thing, a third thing, and so forth. And that's where you really start getting additional benefits. And we've done this in a lot of different places, to the points where customers are saying, we can't imagine how we were doing this before. This is so foundationally different that we can't imagine doing things the old way. And so we really encourage you to work with Informatica Professional Services to help you get to that next step here, where we put together a methodology to help take you from wherever you are right now to that next step where you can take better advantage of this in a hybrid IT environment. So let me also point folks to some other information that we have out there. We've done some white papers on cloud integration for hybrid IT. Please go out and grab that. The books that John and I wrote, particularly the lead integration book, go into great detail, really describing this hybrid IT environment. It really is the first public integration factories that are out there are these cloud integration services. So there's a lot more detail on this that you can get that also talk about the people and processes aspect of how to incorporate this. So anyway, this has kind of been a turbo webinar here. A lot of information, I think, in a relatively short period of time. But we hope it's been very beneficial. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Do we also have...
I've taken a few, Dave, on the chat and answered them.
Okay, great.
I know we're a little bit over, but I want to ask one question. So first of all, a plug for the books. Yeah, definitely the Lean Integration book. Some great reviews on Amazon. So let me get your take on Vibe, which Informatica announced. There's a few questions on what is it, how is it different. How does Vibe fit into what you've been talking about with Lean, and what's your kind of view on where Vibe's going to take Informatica?
Well, what's really game-changing about Vibe is the fact that effectively we are separating the what you want to have processed, how you're defining what you want to have done, and I have the word what in quotes, from the how it actually gets executed, and I have how in quotes. So we're separating the definition or design time from the execution or runtime. That means that you can design something in that environment here on the cloud, and the Informatica platform on-premise user interfaces, and you can get pushed down to Hadoop. It can be run in the Informatica engine. It can be split among those. It can be pushed down into Teradata, into other appliances. It can be executed in one of the cloud agents that Darren was talking about in that architecture slide a little earlier. The beauty of this is that these things can be defined in one place and reused in many places without having to learn all these different languages, from MapReduce to getting to know all these different variants of appliances, to details of web services and so forth, to REST, to everything else. It could all be done where we're separating the what we want to have done from the how it actually gets executed.
Great. Well, that's a great way to end. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us today, and we'll follow up with some of these materials, and we look forward to working with you as you embark on this hybrid IT journey that we're all in the midst of. Thank you, Dave, for your great information.
Hey, thanks, Darren.